What's up, everyone? We have some exciting things to talk about in today's video. The powerhouse Tesla just reported earnings, and it is all over the place in after hours. In today's video, we're going to take a nice look at what's going on with Tesla stock and their earnings report. And we're also going to go over some very important news that happened in the market today. And as always, we are going to cover a big money trade that you won't want to miss. We love looking at multi-million dollar smart money trades because they tend to work very well. So make sure to stick with us today. We have a lot of great things to cover, and some of these stocks are all over the place. So we're set for a pretty good video.
Yeah, we definitely are. And guys, stick with us. We will be getting into the Tesla earnings here very, very shortly. But to this morning, Mike, the stock market actually opened up very, very low, and a lot of stocks actually gapped down, and it was a pretty bloody start to the day. Like, look at the SPY here. It actually opened up here around like 396, 395.90, somewhere like right around there. And then we actually popped down to like 393.50 there in the middle of the day. And you can see how Microsoft was the main thing that I would say caused a lot of these stocks to gap down, because their earnings were initially pretty good last night, but then it ended up turning around and falling back off. And then in pre-market today, gapped down even lower. And we ended up touching that 231 support there right after the market opened. So pretty bloody day, but we did end up recovering back up on a lot of these stocks. And looking at the heat map, Mike, the heat map does look very, very mixed, but we did have a lot of good movement here towards the end of the day. It was very hard for stocks to make it back into the green, because that initial gap down was just so bad this morning. But Mike, Tesla actually had a fairly good report, I'd say. There was a couple negatives here, but man, their stock is going all over the place right now. And I'm really hoping that by tomorrow morning they can start to move back up. But right now it seems like a big theta burner, and I hate to say it, but man, I feel bad for everyone who bought the calls on this one.
You know it. It's definitely been a crazy report so far. There were some good things in the earnings and some bad things. Lots of choppy movement so far. But just as a quick overview, Tesla technically did beat on their earnings expectations and their revenue expectations. But what was pretty worrying is that they missed big time on their free cash flow numbers. For this quarter, they had $1.42 billion in free cash flow, and the estimate was at $3.13 billion. So that's a pretty big miss right there. Free cash flow is one of the most popular metrics that people look at for earnings. And, it was just like a mixed report overall.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I saw that even their margins actually came in a little bit lower here at 25.9%, also missing expectations a little bit as well. So there was a few good things about Tesla. They're doing fairly well. They beat on that EPS, they beat on the revenue, but that free cash flow numbers, it's obviously just not good to see that come in a little bit under. And of course, Mike, it's Tesla. People are going to look for any little nitpicky thing they can to try to, look at them in maybe a negative way or a good way, depending on how they like them. Guys, let me know how you think or how you feel about Tesla in the comments below, because I'll say, Mike, I would say that I personally feel like that they still did pretty well. When I look at some of these year over year numbers here, it's pretty big. It says their revenue grew 51% year over year. So they're still growing by a lot. Now, I did see that they ended up missing on some vehicle delivery numbers, which I think they even came out with a little bit earlier in the month. So that's another small negative thing there. But hey, at least that 51% revenue growth year over year is still looking pretty good. And, overall that the EPS and revenue came in even as well. So I like that, but there was some negatives, and it just wasn't enough to really wow investors, because even though they technically beat on EPS and revenue, it's not like they beat by any exponential amount or anything. It was pretty much right at expectation.
Exactly. Very mixed report overall. And looking at Tesla stock right now, it's just very, very flat. So, Tom, going into tomorrow, what are the main levels to look at? What should we be watching for Tesla stock? Because over the past couple of weeks, it's been having an awesome recovery, but when you zoom out, it's the chart's still looking pretty brutal.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, they are down a lot still, even though they're up a lot here, like 44% almost from that low down there around 100. I mean, it's still a brutal thing to see how low that they've been down this year. What was the total, Mike? I think something like 70% or something they were down from the high to the low. But man, it's crazy. For the next few days, I'm going to really be watching that high of day from from this week. I will say there was a lot of movement here right around the 145 to 146 resistance. You can see that there was just tons of bounces here at that red resistance line. So I'm going to really watch this resistance line because in after hours, we ended up, running up above it a little bit, but then we ended up tanking right back down because as we know, earnings are very volatile as we can see. But heading into tomorrow, Mike, I'm going to really watch that upper resistance there. If we end up falling under 142, which is like that low of after hours here today, then I think that we might be able to look at some puts to the downside. And I do see another support at like 141 as well. There's been a lot of chop here, kind of like within this big range that I kind of drew out. So I'm really looking for like a big move up or down out of this.
Gotcha. So basically, we're just waiting for the range, waiting to see where that momentum flows. Because right now, there's just not too much momentum. Like, it's having some upwards movement, some downwards movement, but it's just like, it's not very consistent just yet. So I'm with you in that sense. Once we start to see like a good break in either direction, I do think there will be opportunity to follow that, just like we saw with some other recent earnings reports. Sometimes if you just play the stock like a couple days after earnings, it can be a better setup.
Yeah, definitely could, because who knows, Tesla might start consolidating here, and then we still have more earnings coming up later in the week too. So if those go well and then they end up pushing the overall market up, Tesla will probably start to break out above like 145, 146 and start to move up. But for right now, it's very mixed. And who knows, Mike, we got lit up in the comments yesterday because Microsoft reversed on us a couple hours later. Who knows? Maybe we'll wake up tomorrow morning and Tesla will be up to 150 or something with our luck. But yeah, I mean, it just always remember that, guys, that these stocks can turn around in pre-market and after hours a lot after these earnings too. But other earnings in the week, Mike, we have Intel and Visa tomorrow and after hours. Kind of forgot about Intel yet there with all the big ones reporting like Tesla, Boeing, and Microsoft the past couple days. But we also have American Airlines and Southwest before open, along with MasterCard. And hey, shout out to the OGs who remember the good old Nokia story with one of our Discord traders.
True that. So, Tom, on a completely different note, I came across some relatively sus news today where basically yesterday, for those of you who don't know, the Department of Justice basically announced that they are suing Google for monopolizing digital advertising, right? And don't you guys know that Nancy Pelosi actually dumped 30,000 Google shares about a month ago, So it's just interesting how that timing plays out. And I know she definitely dumped some other, shares of stock that we can see as we scroll through this report. This whole thing looks like a giant tax loss harvesting event to me. But you got to love that timing, Tom.
Yeah, that's insane. And you know what? Who would have known better than her? They would have been talking about it nonstop in Congress that this was going to be happening. And, people have probably been trying to move things behind the scenes and get things going. So these people definitely knew what was going on. So it's definitely pretty sus, Mike. I'll give it that. As we know, Pelosi has been extremely sus over the past few years. I'll say there's been multiple trades between her and her husband where we've seen a bunch of crazy things going on. I know recently one of the big ones was I think she ended up cutting a bunch of shares a while ago with like NVIDIA and a bunch of other stocks after some bad news came out about her insider trading. So it's crazy, Mike. She has a history of doing this. And yeah, what a time for her to sell Google. And I will say Google has been having quite the down year. It does seem like it's been consolidating a little bit recently. But man, it's just another one of those stocks that's been down a lot. And if this advertising news ends up taking hold, man, they could end up getting in some pretty big trouble. And who knows the fines? And I'm not even really worried about the fines, but this could end up even changing like maybe the way ads are put to us in the landscape. Like it could totally change Google's whole business around here.
No doubt. So I know some people are gonna, I guess what I should say is that, while Nancy Pelosi has some very suspicious trades, it's also worth noting that both sides of the political spectrum do insider trading and do very suspicious trades. So I just want to put that out there. Both Republicans and Democrats have a nice long history of some great timing when it comes to the stock market. It's just very interesting when you make it into Congress, you just magically become like, in like the top, I guess you could say, one of the top traders in the entire market. It's interesting how that works.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, it's not like we're trying to just pick one side or the other. We're only picking her because she's just the most popular, one of the more popular ones in there. Obviously, it's not, you don't really hear too much about any other of the congressmen doing any insider trading. I've heard of a few, but obviously, both sides do it. I've seen a lot of charts that show tons of Republicans do it, tons of Democrats do it, but as we know, Nancy is one of the more popular ones, and Mike, she's actually stepping down. I wonder, is she? I guess she's technically out right now since McCarthy got in, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens with it. But either way, and going back to the stock market overall, a lot of people like to look at SPY, right? And we're still straddling this crucial $400 level on SPY. Historically, it's been a giant resistance point, especially as we can see this week. But when SPY breaks above 400, 400 will also act as a key support level. So, Tom, I know we've been in like this giant downtrending channel for over a year now. What do we need to look at for the SPY right now? I know we're not truly in like a true breakout with SPY when it comes to this upper resistance level, but what do we need to know and what should we look out for?
Here's what I'll say is it definitely is the closest we've been to breaking it, in my opinion, that we have ever been. Like we tried to break it back in December. We had like an FOMC event or CPI data come out and ended up pushing us a little bit higher there. Then we fell back down. Right now, it looks like we're about to get back above 400 in a pretty big way. So some big levels to watch for. If we do get a $400 break, I think it's going to be very crucial to watch anywhere between like 408 to 410 coming up next. There's been a lot of touches here around that level in the past. So if we do get a big break out there, watch for 408 to 410 to the upside. I think that could be a pretty big area of resistance. Now for support, I'm going to go a little bit into the shorter term here. So I see a big support down here right around 393 to 394. You can see it's not exact. It's not exactly like on 394, 393, but you can tell like once you get right around here, there's a big area of support. We've seen a lot of intraday price action there over the past couple weeks. And then obviously below there, the next main one I have is 391 to 390. I know 391 to 390 has been huge. And if we end up tanking down, that could be a very attainable goal, is like 390 to 391. But I will say, Mike, it looks like we're trying to break. Looking at that daily chart, we finally have a couple of very nice closes up above this line. For the most part, we've just moved above this line and then closed under it every time. But man, we've had 3 consecutive closes above this. I'm really hoping that this is setting us up well for a nice push up. But Tesla is not helping us here in after hours.
Yeah, so we will see. But on a different note, I want to talk about some setups that I am watching for the short term. So this is a stock that I haven't talked about too much lately. It's ELAN. So basically this stock is a stock where I saw a good amount of big money flow into in the past. The big money it's a call option trade that expires in April. But long story short, this stock has been consolidating pretty consistently over like the past couple months, ever since October. We're getting pretty close to a break above like that $13.50 to like $14 area. So I do like it going forward. It's not necessarily a trade just for tomorrow, but like over the next couple weeks and months, I really do like the setup with this one to the upside.
Yeah, I like it too. It's almost like a nice like W formation here. We have a very nice support down here, like around 1130 or 1126 that we've been bouncing off of very consistently. And like you said, if we get that big break above this resistance here, I think it can end up being a very nice play. And a lot of stocks have been going down this year, so I can't hate on ELAN for falling, especially whenever Zoom, DraftKings, and PayPal, all these other stocks have been down too. So hopefully they get a nice push up and they get a nice recovery back up with these other stocks. And talking about stocks recovering, Mike, these bank stocks have actually been kind of like over recovering back to the upside the past few months heading into this year. And I will say JP Morgan was actually looking pretty explosive tonight. And I'm going to really watch it for a push up through 139.20 tomorrow. Man, I love the way this closed today, pushing up towards highs, still has some good momentum. And looking at that daily chart, I think there's still some room to go up with JP Morgan.
All right, sounds good. Another stock I'm watching very closely is Nvidia, and it's actually the same exact setup that I was watching yesterday. So basically, Nvidia's been exploding over the past couple weeks, and while that's awesome to see, we have some very important resistance levels coming up, especially at that $200 level. So I'm actually looking for Nvidia to test this $200 level and actually reject off of it. So if we see Nvidia creep up to like right around 200, maybe like $199.50 or like $199.80 or just somewhere around that level, I'll look at it for like a rejection put play, mainly intraday.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm kind of I'm gonna draw like a little arrow to where like a potential entry could be. So like, if you see a nice little move up and it rejects off 200, I think that could be a very nice play, Mike. And who knows, maybe you could even trade it both ways. You could maybe trade it up to 200 and then trade the rejection back down even. It could end up being a pretty good day tomorrow if we see this one play out like that. But my next setup's going to actually be good old DraftKings, Mike. You can never go wrong with DraftKings. What I don't like today with DraftKings is that they flew down very early on, but they recovered back up and they're sitting like right around that 1470 resistance again here. I'm going to really watch this for the next couple days. But what I want to reiterate is it's not just DraftKings. Honestly, it's a lot of growth stocks like DraftKings, Zoom. Like you can tell that these stocks had very similar chart patterns. Say like both of them fell down, they recovered back up. Some of these growth stocks lately have been kind of moving in sympathy with each other, not really because they're correlated, just it's been happening. So I'm just going to go ahead and watch a lot of these growth stocks. I think that if we see the market break out, like with Nvidia and these other stocks in the market, these growth stocks will also follow along. And what I like about them is that we usually get some pretty big moves, like 5-10% moves out of some of these stocks because they've been down so low the past year.
Yeah, those growth stocks have been moving pretty quickly over the past couple weeks. So, Tom, do you have any other setups that you're eyeing up for tomorrow and over the next couple weeks?
Yeah, one thing that I just don't want to forget about, Mike, and I know a lot of the people who've been following us for the past couple months have been seeing some pretty big money flowing into a lot of these big options plays. And I will say, Mike, Shopify has been one of the bigger ones that we've been watching over the past couple weeks. On January 18th, someone put $37 million into the Shopify 30 strike calls for June 16th of 2023. Mike, it is still moving back to the upside. Yesterday, it had an amazing move up towards 50. Today, it started recovering right back up towards there. So I'm going to keep Shopify on the radar. I'm not even going to give any key levels for this one to break. I'm just going to be watching it for momentum. And if we do start to see some intraday moves up, kind of like we did today a couple times, I think it'll be a very nice stock to scalp and possibly trade up. But that's a lot of money going into those calls. And it might not even be a bad idea to swing it. Although I would have rather us swung it on January 18th when the play actually happened.
Yeah, so just to reiterate that, we were talking about this Shopify $37 million call play last week. On the same exact day, someone dumped $37 million into Shopify call options. So if you guys are not subscribed already, make sure to subscribe. We always talk about big money, multi-million dollar trades in every single video. And I know a lot of people banked specifically off this play. So definitely make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Shopify's been blasting up, and they even announced some pretty big price hikes lately too, which just added fuel to the fire for this one.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad to see him breaking out, and man, I hope that they can keep going. I just want to give a quick update, Mike. Tesla is actually starting to come back up now. It looks like it's coming back up to retest 150 here. Man, who knows? Maybe we'll open up green in the morning.
Yeah, we'll see. But it is now time for the momentum plays. With today's first momentum play, we have Corsair to the upside.
Yeah, CRSR, go ahead and make them push up above 1561, pretty much right around that high of day. And it was very nice to see them break out today, Mike. I think we talked, was this your play from yesterday?
It was.
Yeah, nice breakout. So kudos to you on that one.
There we go. With the next one, we have XBI also to the upside.
XBI, yeah, also running up to recent resistance from yesterday around 89.20. I would say if we could end up breaking up above 89.30, then watch for a nice push up, maybe some scalps.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Boeing, but we need both directions on this one.
Yeah, this one's actually a post earnings play here, and I'm hoping that Boeing can keep moving back to the upside. I would say if Boeing can break this big resistance here right around 215 to the upside, go ahead and watch for some calls. But if they end up falling back under 210, I would go ahead and watch for some puts to the downside. But Mike, that upper resistance at 215 is looking pretty crucial there.
Yeah, so we are watching Boeing for potential day trade to the downside tomorrow, only if it breaks below the level Tom listed. We're also watching it for potential day trade to the upside tomorrow, only if it breaks above that upper level. We are also watching XBI and then Corsair, so CRSR, for potential day trade to the upside, only if they break above that upper level. But it is now time for the big money trade of the day. This one's a little bit complicated, but we're going to work through it in a nice and simple way. So we had $807,000 go into the GM call options today. So basically, in simple terms, all you need to know is that there's big money, specifically $807,000 betting that General Motors is going to rise up between right now and March 17th. For my more advanced people out there who trade options, this is actually a call debit spread where the big money bought the 38 strike call options and they shorted the 42 strike call options, where basically they will make a maximum profit if GM is at or above $42 on March 17th of 2023. So overall, I actually really like this play. Tesla reported earnings. GM's been holding up pretty well, especially related to Tesla. And it's been a while since GM has had a nice move up. And Tom, you already beat me to it, but GM's in a pretty strong channel right now. So this is actually not a bad setup in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of like it. And what I like about it a lot is that it's not like up at the top of the channel or anything like that, which is nice. It's like right in the middle, which would kind of make sense for the call debit spread here. Hopefully we can get up to that 42 resistance area like you mentioned. That would be very nice to get there and possibly break it. Definitely throw GM on the radar, guys. And look, I'm going to go ahead and actually circle this right here because I feel like that is just a lot of consolidation here, a lot of green candles just sitting there. Maybe we'll start to get that nice continuation back up sometime soon. There is a little bit of time on this, Mike, but I will say it's only like a couple months out, so there's not like too much time. So it's not like, I don't think that they're necessarily going to be using this with like any like longer term plays or anything like that. Like for example, I don't think that any of these calls are related to like any longer term share positions or anything. So I don't know. I like it, Mike. I like the setup, and I do feel like that GM has a very good chance to come up and retest that upper resistance. I will say GM has had some awesome products lately, from their electric Silverados to these new Corvettes and stuff. Like, man, they've had some killer cars coming out.
Yeah, so hopefully the stock moves in a good way too. So we'll see what happens. But now I want to highlight our member of the day, and it's actually Tom. But yeah, so Tom, congratulations on member of the day. We actually had a bunch of members in the Discord chat vote on this, so we couldn't deny it. We had quite a good amount of people vouch for you. So great job, Tom, for all you do. And I just want to say, if you guys do not join the morning live streams with Tom, you are missing out. Every single morning, Tom goes live. Feel free to join him on the Stocked Up Live YouTube channel. I will put the link for this in the description and the comments down below. Every single morning at open, Tom goes live. Like, even if he's sick, he still powers through it. So make sure to join Tom on the live channel.
Yeah, guys, I'll tell you, today was rough, but hey, I powered right through, and I can't say enough, guys. You guys are making me blush right now. Thanks for that today with the vote. It definitely made me feel a lot better. It got me motivated for the video tonight. So let's go, Mike. Let's hopefully continue to see this SPY move up, and who knows, maybe we'll have that nice push up above like 401, 402, and we'll start to retest 410 sometime soon. I'm really hoping for it, and we're going to be watching the price action tomorrow morning live. So check it out, guys. We go live every morning.
There we go. So Tom, for the, I guess you could say, economic schedule for the rest of the week, what other events do we have to look out for?
Oh, man. So we've had Microsoft earnings, Tesla earnings. We've been having all this crazy price action this week. And now tomorrow, we still have the GDP growth rate to worry about too. So 1 hour before the market opens tomorrow, we are going to get the GDP growth rate for Q4. So watch out for it. It looks like they're going to be well, they're forecasting it to fall down by quite a lot. So I don't know, Mike. Doesn't seem too good, especially if it falls down by more than they're expecting. I don't know. This could definitely change things for the market here, especially since we're at this big resistance. Just another reason to join the live stream, Mike. We'll be able to catch all the price action right there.
True that. All right. Well, I'm pretty excited for tomorrow. We have, some decent price action brewing right now, especially because of these recent earnings releases. SPY is also straddling that key level at 400, so it should be a pretty exciting end to the week. Again, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe. We post brand new videos all the time, and when you subscribe, you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. Besides that, let's have an amazing rest of the week.